All right, this is SSLFamilyDad, and today I'm going to show you how to get rid of rotten egg smelling water. You like the water in your house?
I hate it. It smells like junk.
It smells yucky when I take a shower sometimes.
All right, so ever since we moved into this new house, the first thing we noticed was this awful smelling water. Hot water especially really has a rotten egg smell to it. I did a little bit of research a few months ago and just kind of figured out what the cause of this was. And it turns out that it's actually kind of a common thing with certain conditions in water where you get an anaerobic bacteria that grows in the water heater. The bacteria is completely harmless to you, but unfortunately it causes a reaction with the magnesium anode rods in the water heater that creates this hydrogen sulfide, which smells awful. It smells like rotten eggs or sulfur. And so that's what we need to solve today. Water softening will not take this out. We have a water softener here. In fact, the water softening, from what I understand, can actually make the problem a little bit worse. When you soften the water, it actually causes it to kind of amplify the effect. So what we need to do is change out the anode rod. Now there's lots of options out there. I've chose to go with a powered anode rod, and I'll show you what I have here, and then we'll get into to getting this changed out. Okay, so what I have here is a powered anode rod. This is going to replace the magnesium or aluminum anode rod that's in there currently. I purchased this on Amazon. You can get them lots of places, but I found this to be one of the highest rated and the lowest cost. So I'll put a link in the description of the video to this. So if you have this issue, you can jump over and find it easily. So this one basically, this is what the anode rod looks like. It's pretty basic here. And it comes with a power adapter and that you just have to plug in. So you do have to have an outlet, or you could run a small extension cord wherever near it, but usually you have an outlet near your water heater anyway. So, and this just plugs into the top of the anode rod once we get it installed. This is like 0.3 watts, I think, so we're not talking a lot of power consumption here, so it's not a big deal. But this should eliminate that rotten egg smell. We're taking the magnesium aluminum anode out of there, and so we shouldn't have that reaction in the water any longer. Replacing the anode rod should be fairly easy. However, whenever we dig into plumbing projects like this, there's always lots of things that can go wrong. So we'll see how it turns out here, but I will take you through step by step so we can get this installed. So first thing you need to do is locate your cold water input here, or your cold water source. We have a well, so usually next to your expansion tank is some type of a valve, and we're going to go ahead and shut this off. I will tell you that sometimes when you shut these valves off, they will leak a little bit. I wouldn't worry too much about that. You might just have to throw a towel underneath it or something for a little while, but the hardness of the water usually will kind of seal the leak up and the drip up after a few days. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Once we get the water shut off, we're going to go ahead and locate the drain on the water heater. Okay, so there's a couple ways we can go about this here. We have an electric water heater, so first step is obviously turning the water heater off. I have mine turned off at the breaker. If you have a gas water heater, you obviously want to make sure that your incoming gas is turned off and your gas valve or the water heater itself is turned off, so it's not firing up while you're trying to work on it here. Now we have a little bit of a different system here. We have a wood burner that heats all of our water, and so things might look a little different here because we have that set up. But generally down here at the bottom somewhere you're going to find some type of a valve. Usually coming right out of the side of the water heater is a drain valve. Now you can drain the tank all the way or part way. You really only need to get the level of the water, just down below the surface here, because we're going to be working just at the top of it. You could also just run a lower hot water tap if you have a sink that is at a lower level of the house, so you can get the level of the water down below the top there. You also want to open a hot water tap on a sink or something somewhere in the house, preferably at an upper level, so that you get the water, the air will kind of let the water flow all the way out of the pipes, and so you don't have a bunch of water in the pipes, which will cause problems when you take that rod out. Alright, so while that's draining out here, we're going to locate the anode rod port at the top here, usually the larger plastic cover. And you pry that up with a screwdriver. I'm also going to use a vacuum to clean out all the foam shavings that are in the hole, because I don't want all that. We don't want all that falling in our hot water when we take the anode out. So. Okay, so to take the anode rod out, you're going to need a couple things here. This is an 1 1/16" socket. The instructions, funny enough, they said 1 1/6", which doesn't exist as far as I know. So 1 1/16" is the right one to take the existing anode rod in. As far as I know, they're all standard. I also have an extension here for my 1/2" drive, a socket wrench, and I have this that I use for all kinds of stuff. I just bought a piece of 3/4 inch pipe, and I kind of rammed the handle of an extra socket wrench in there. And this is just a leverage bar. And you're definitely going to need this to break that thing free, because it is corroded right in there. So, but once we have this all together here, we'll go ahead and get that anode rod out. Okay, so here's the anode rod. So what is an anode rod? Basically, as far as I know, they're in all water heaters, electric or gas, and this helps to prevent corrosion in the actual water heater itself. So the tank walls and heating elements and all that good stuff, fittings, they will not corrode. This is like a sacrificial rod, and so generally they're made out of magnesium, as far as I understand it. There are some other ones as well. I think the new one we're putting in is titanium, and so it again doesn't react with the water and create that hydrogen sulfide gas that smells awful. And so you can see this one is all pitted and starting to come apart, and that's what it's supposed to do. Really, it's supposed to dissolve over time. You are supposed to replace this in water heaters from time to time. I don't know if it's 5 or 10 years. I have to look that up, but if you have a super old water heater, you may want to look into it, just replacing the anode rod anyway. So, anyway, so that's the old one. Let's get the new one in. Okay, so applying Teflon tape. It's the little things, right? It's easy, but you can use Teflon tape, or you can use pipe dope. What I actually like pipe dope a little better. It's a little easier to put on, but Teflon tape does two things. It lubricates the threads and makes it so that you can tighten it down easier. You can actually get it a little tighter, so it makes a better seal. And it also helps to seal the threads as well, make sure there's no leaks. Okay, so the direction that you put the tape on is what's important. And if we were to put it on this way and wrap it all around, we would end up with the end of the tape sitting right here. And then we went to thread it in, that end of the tape's going to catch on the threads and peel it backwards, so we don't want that. So if you always start looking down the threads with your tape on the left-hand side, if you're looking down the threads, it will always be correct. You'll always end up with the end of the tape on the right side. So just remember that. Start with the tape on your left-hand side, and then just once you get it started, keep some tension on it, and then just spin it on. You want it to be nice and tight. Oop, too tight. You want to kind of sink it into the threads there, so that you get, you don't want to pack too much in there, but you sink it into the threads there, and you'll get a nice even turn when you thread it on. That's probably plenty. So make sure all your threads are covered, and we're good to go. Let's get this put in. Now this actually takes a 1 3/8" socket on the top there to put this in, but it sticks up enough at the top here where we shouldn't we shouldn't need to buy a socket because I don't have an 1 3/8 socket. So we're going to get it started here, and then I'll use a adjustable wrench to fully tighten it in here. Bought this big rigid adjustable wrench, and it's nice because it's actually got the hash marks on it, so you can adjust it ahead of time to the right size and go from there. Or you can actually measure your bolt and see how big it is. Alright, looks like we are back in business here. Everything's installed and ready to rock. So I'm not going to plug this in until we get the water back in the tank. So I'm going to go ahead and turn our water back on here, and I will open up a hot water faucet in the furthest away bathroom of the house to make sure everything gets filled back up with water. We got hot water coming back through, which means the tank is full, and at that point we'll be ready to plug in our new anode rod. Alright guys, well that pretty much wraps it up for this one. Installing the new anode rod actually wasn't very hard at all. Didn't run into any major problems, which sometimes happens when you're dealing with plumbing stuff. And it works so much better. The water doesn't smell like rotten eggs anymore. It's just so nice to take a hot shower and not want to gag. So we're very happy for that, and the kids especially who've complained relentlessly about this issue are now happy. So that's the most important thing, right? But overall, the project was a success. Again, I will put links to all the products and tools that I used in the description. I purchased pretty much everything on Amazon, even a lot of tools and stuff like that I found cheaper than a lot of the big box stores. I try to find stuff made in America, and a lot of times I can research that online and look at different things. And so Amazon has been a huge resource for me. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, click on those links down below. We do get credit for clicks on that stuff, but I find that people are interested in what we have and what we're using anyway, so why not make it easy? If you guys have questions or comments, please throw them down below. I do answer those regularly, so I'd love to do my best to answer any questions that you have. We love the thumbs up, so if you have a minute, click on that thumbs up button. It makes a big difference if this information was useful to you in any way. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the channel, that just means that you'll get notified when we upload new videos. We've got a whole lot of DIY projects and how-tos, and this house is a mess. I mean, just look at the stuff behind me. I've got to redo pretty much everything in this house over the next few years. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'd love to have you follow along, as well as any sustainable type stuff and farming and all the craziness we're getting into out here. So I'd love to have you guys follow along. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.